Welcome to the office of Demonology. I'm Dr. J, retired demon hunter and knower of things, and this is old school April book tag. I believe you're supposed to be tagged and then you answer these questions, but I'm a new kid on the block when it comes to booktube, so maybe someone just forgot to tag me, but they meant they wanted to tag me. So I'm going to pretend somebody tagged me, and now I'm going to answer the book tags, and then I'll tag somebody in the description below. So I thought this would be really fun, kind of the get to know you, Dr. J. And let's get started with the first question. It's under Reading Rainbow. What book, author, or series got you into reading? I would say growing up, I read stuff like Treasure Island and Hardy Boys, but I wasn't an avid reader like most of you people. I didn't read the way I read now. I don't feel like I was surrounded by reading as much as a lot of people who are avid readers are. I definitely watched a lot of things. I read a lot of stuff like this. This would have been 1983, I would have been 13, and I would have had the storybook versions of my favorite movies. Anything to that effect. Just general reading. I didn't devour things. Not until much later in life, which brings me to the next question. What author or book got you into your current favorite genre? I would say my current favorite genre is definitely horror, but I love sci-fi. Not much into fantasy, but I like just regular literary books. I love books. I like stuff that make me laugh. I like stuff that make me cry. I like it all. But if we're going to talk about the horror genre, I know exactly what book it was. It was Tommyknockers by Stephen King. It was probably right after high school, and a friend of mine handed me the paperback of Tommyknockers. And I read that and I was like, wow, this is fun. This was good. Now, I don't think it's really that great of a Stephen King book, but what Stephen King does for me is he creates characters that I definitely like hanging out with. And that was kind of the case with Tommyknockers, this obsession with digging something in the ground and what could it be. A really fun read, and that's what was like, wow, this was fun. In high school, I didn't read all the things I was supposed to read, Lord of the Flies, Fahrenheit 451, but after I discovered Tommyknockers and I went back to reading, I devoured all those books that I was supposed to read in high school, like 1984, and I loved those books, but I don't think I was mature enough in high school to really appreciate those books. All right, next up is Mixtape. What was the first concert you ever went to? The first concert I ever went to is kind of embarrassing. Sean Cassidy. But my one sister has a birthday in August, and my birthday's in August. And we were both fans of Sean Cassidy. I was younger, probably like 10 years younger. Not really 10, maybe 8 years younger than her. And he was really popular at the time, Sean Cassidy, and he also was on the Hardy Boys. I recorded the entire old school April book tag video, and then I watched it, and halfway through I lost audio. Actually, wherever this is picking up is where I lost audio. So let's get back to the first concert, which was Sean Cassidy at the Robin Hood Del East or Del West. Currently it's called the Mann Music Center in Philadelphia. My sister and I share a birthday well, we don't share a birthday, but our birthdays happen in August, so we went there for our birthday because we both really enjoyed Sean Cassidy. Next up, what band or artist do you love but never got to see live? That would be David Bowie. Love David Bowie. I did have tickets to the Glass Spider tour in 1988, 89, maybe 87, I don't remember. And I think the same sister that I saw Sean Cassidy with had tickets, and we were both supposed to go. Well, I had this awful, very awful experience with an ex-girlfriend. She was in Wildwood, New Jersey. I went down there. Let's just call it a fight, but it wasn't really a fight. It was just a weird situation. I had to leave. I didn't have, my car broke down. I ended up having to like hitchhike back to Philadelphia. It was a long night. I was in Center City, Philadelphia at like 3 a.m. I ended up getting back home in the early morning hours. I was so dead tired that I ended up saying, hey, I can't make it to the concert. And I regret it to this day. I wish I would have went. My sister still has those tickets as well, the ticket stubs, because she says everything, as I said. All right, what's next? I always feel like somebody's watching me is the topic. And the first question is, what was your favorite cartoon while growing up? My favorite cartoon, I'm going to say, was Dungeons and Dragons. I love the intro to that. I love the artwork. There's new toys that I never bought, but I wish I had them. Really great looking toys that matched the cartoon perfectly. Now, there are tons of cartoons because when I was a kid, we had Saturday morning cartoons that actually meant something. And there's a lot of cartoons that I really enjoyed. Speed Racer was another one that I really liked, but I'm going to say Dungeons and Dragons for this one. Next up, name a TV show or movie that is tied to a good memory. Well, it has to be Star Wars. In 1977, I saw Star Wars when it came out, an experience I will never forget. And the memory of seeing that movie on the big screen with the rest of the world, you will never experience Star Wars like that. And I'm not really a Star Wars fan as I used to be because what has happened with Star Wars since, I'm not a big fan of. But when the original trilogy was happening, yeah, that was pretty amazing, and it really turned me into who I am today because I did read a lot of things when it came to Star Wars, and I started reading a lot about George Lucas and how George Lucas was inspired by Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, which Joseph Campbell, if you don't know, he talks about comparative religion and comparative mythologies, and it's where I learned that all the religions and all the mythologies are all basically the same, and there are these similar stories. So there isn't any real Noah's Ark flood story. There's a ton of flood stories. And then I realized it's all BS. And that's where I kind of lost my religion. I'm an atheist. And I got into writing because of the hero's journey with Joseph Campbell. And everything about me started with that Star Wars because it just led me down this road of reading more and more about how things got made and then why was this and this and this. And I have to definitely say Star Wars. But I was fortunate to grow up in a time where there were so many great movies, Indiana Jones and all these different films that came out in the 80s. So next up, name your first TV or movie crush. Probably Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia, or the woman who played Wilma in Buck Rogers. Was it Erin Gray? I'll have to look that up. But my first probably crush when I was in high school probably was Winona Ryder. I loved her in Heathers. Next category, gotta catch them all. What was a toy you were obsessed with or collected as a kid? Clearly the Kenner Star Wars figures, which I still have lots of them on my shelf to my right. And even on the wall, I have the newer versions of the old ones. So Star Wars, Kenner, action figures. Easy answer. Next up is Pac-Man Fever. Name a board game or video game you associate with your childhood. In my childhood, we all hung out at the mall. And in the mall, there was an arcade, and we used to go into the arcade. Probably my number one answer would be Donkey Kong. And then after that, it would be, there was a game called Jungle King or Jungle Hunt. Same game, it just had a different name. And then at home, it was Atari, board games. And I actually have a vintage one here, because I still collect vintage board games. I found this at the thrift store, Clue. This is a 1950s, 60s version of Clue. I really enjoy the box art and has everything included, but I loved Clue as a kid. Now, like I said, I collect board games. My friend John found this at a flea market and picked this up for me. It's from 1971, the Godfather game. I have not played that yet, but I love board games, and there's a convention in Philadelphia called PAX Unplugged. I try to get to it every year. It's a board game convention, and I just love it. All right, next up. She's got the look. Name a clothing or trend that was popular when I was a kid. Okay, easy first answer would be parachute pants. I did have a pair of parachute pants, but that wouldn't be what I would associate with my high school years. It probably would be Z Cavaricis. Now, these were my Mom would call them peg pants because they were like very baggy on the thighs, but very tight at the ankles, kind of like joggers, but bigger in the thighs. And I used to go buy those, and those were over $100. I had a job, but I can't imagine why I was buying those expensive pants. I know why. I was trying to look cool. It didn't work. I was so scrawny. It looked really stupid on me, but I thought it would help me get girls. It didn't. All right, what's up next? Next category is I want candy. Name a childhood snack or candy you wish were still made. This is tough. I don't know. There was a candy bar called whatchamacallit. If it's still out there, let me know in the comments. I have no clue. But they used to have this stupid commercial.
Ooh, that sounds crispy. I love that peanutty smell. What you eating, Lou?
Whatchamacallit?
What do you call it?
Whatchamacallit?
I mean, what's its name?
I told you the name.
Did not.
Did too.
You said whatchamacallit.
That's right.
Whatchamacallit from Hershey. The thick, crunchy bar of peanutty tasting crisp drenched in chocolate. Whatchamacallit. You can ask for it by name.
Give me that.
Give me what?
Oh.
There was another one, a Reggie Jackson bar. He's a sports celebrity, and he had his own candy bar. Are Pop Rocks still a thing? There was a legend that Mikey from the Life cereal commercials in the 80s drank Coca-Cola while he had Pop Rocks in his mouth. And I don't know if his head exploded or he died because of it, or his throat blew up. Who knows? But that was the rumor. It's not true. But don't go try it in case something bad happens. I don't want to be blamed for it. But Pop Rocks, if they're not a thing, those were fun. And that's the last of the list. I will be back with a new old school April book review. I'm reading Podcane of Mars by Robert A. Heinlein, and I will have a full review on this. This fits the read a sci-fi book in old school April. So I will be back soon with that review. If you like this type of content, make sure you subscribe and you hit that bell. That way you'll always be notified when I throw something up. I'm going to nominate Regina St. Clair from Regina's Haunted Library, who's also my co-editor on Bookworms and also my co-host on Writing Fiction Podcast. So I will tell you, Regina, you're up next for these questions. Peace!